about the cricothyroid ligament. Let us talk about the cavity of the larynx. So, the cavity of the larynx, due to the structures we have discussed now, it is divided into three parts. Let's move from above downwards. The line where we were talking about where actual cavity of the larynx start, this is known as inlet of the larynx. This is known as laryngeal inlet. It is more in a vertical position than in a horizontal position. It is like this on the opposite side, and it is communicating backwards to the laryngopharynx, and it is continuing with the backwards and upwards. It is anteriorly, it is made up of epiglottis. This whole part, that is the airy epiglottic fold, and on the back there is a fold running between the two arytenoid cartilages, that is known as transverse fold between arytenoids. So this is the inlet of the larynx. So inlet can be seen when you are looking through the laryngoscope. This is how you will, as in up you may have seen already when doing endotracheal intubations. When you're looking through the laryngoscope, you will be seeing this ring: epiglottis in front, aryepiglottic folds on sides, and the transverse interarytenoid ridge behind. And you will actually see two sets of nodules, two sets of dilatations on the posterior aspect of the aryepiglottic fold, and these are due to the cuneiform and the corniculate cartilages. This is how they will show as in real life, and between them, this red fleshy fold is the false vocal cord, and beneath them, the white portion that is just going medial to it, this is the true vocal cord vocal folds. And they, in the blue line here, the laryngeal inlet has been shown. This is the laryngeal inlet. So it has further been divided into three parts. The part that starts from the laryngeal inlet, and ends at the false vocal cord. This is known as vestibule. This is known as vestibule. The part above this ring, the part below this ring, between the laryngeal inlet and false vocal cord. This is the vestibule. Here, the vestibule will include this shaded area. This will be the vestibule. So here, you are actually looking at the vestibule up to this line. Everything above this thing is the vestibule. You are actually looking through the vestibule. Then there is laryngeal sinus or the ventricles. There were two sets of membranes, the one above that was the false vocal cords and the one below that was the true vocal cords. The one above was due to the quadrangular membrane, the one below that is due to the cricovocal membrane, and the space that is left between them, it is known as the ventricle or the sinus. So this space that is present between them, it actually outpouches and outside. This is the sinus, this is the ventricular sinus, and it not only extend outside, after pouching outside it does go anteriorly also. So this anterior extension of this is known as saccule, laryngeal saccule. This is the laryngeal saccule. It is the outpouching, and it goes from the anterior aspect, and it is present between it goes, as it goes forward, it is present between this quadrangular membrane, vestibular fold, and thyroid membrane and thyroid cartilage laterally, and the quadrangular membrane medially. It consists of a lot of mucosal glands that produce the secretion, and they trickle down over the vocal cords down to the trachea, and here it keeps the vocal cords lubricated. And here laryngeal ventricle is shown on the coronal section right here between the two vocal cords, true and false. Then there is infraglottic part. As we discussed earlier, this opening between the two vocal cords, this is known as glottis. This is known as glottis. So anything that is between them, between down below this, and above the lower end of the cricoid cartilage. This whole area, this whole area, this is known as the infraglottic part of the larynx. In this picture, this is the lower end, this is the vocal cord, so this will be the infraglottic part. In this picture, it will be somewhat below this line. This is the infraglottic space. You are seeing the infraglottic space through the cut cricovocal membrane. This is the infraglottic part. Below the cricoid cartilage, you will enter into the trachea. This is about the membranes, this is about the parts, and then we are left with the glottis itself. This is the gap between the vocal cords, the rima glottis. For the 60% of the length, it is between the covered by on either side by the vocal ligaments. This 40% of the length, this on the either side, it is by the arytenoid cartilages. This is on the either side by the arytenoid cartilages. So this part is the intermembranous part, and this part is the intercartilaginous part. You don't have to actually remember the figures, but you just need to know that it's triangular in humans, and in males it is more in length as compared to females. And that's why the males, this ligament is long. When it gets tight, it vibrates with less frequency. Males will have a deeper voice as compared to females. If you have ever played with an elastic like a guitar sling, you may have noticed that when the you may have if you have placed with a thread for a guitar string, if you take a bigger piece of thread, if you take a big piece of thread and you pluck it, you will have to maintain a high pressure to get it to high pitch. But if it's a smaller one, just by pulling it a little, you will get a very high pitch. And that's something that happens here. In males, the thoracic cartilage is more anteriorly placed with respect to the arytenoid cartilages. This will allow the vocal cords to be more in length, and they need more space. They will need more pressure to be tense, and that's why the males have a deeper voice. And this change you can actually see in the males going through puberty. Their voice suddenly changes as soon as the hormones kick in. I'm not going to discuss this in detail, but this is a slide regarding the type of epithelium that is covering each part. This is a basically topic of histology, but we were discussing larynx, so I said why not. Anterior surface of the epiglottis has an epithelium like the oral cavity, stratified squamous epithelium. The posterior surface, it's mostly like the respiratory system, pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. But I have used part of. The transition between the stratified squamous and the pseudostratified occurs on the posterior surface. So the posterior surface of the epiglottis on the upper half has stratified squamous, on the lower half it has pseudostratified. The vestibule, the upper part that was pseudostratified, the vestibular fold has the same one. The vocal folds are covered with stratified squamous because they have to encounter a lot of trauma when they are vibrating. Do you know the audible pitch is the one that you can hear is 20,000 hertz, 20 megahertz. Uh, I think I'm doing something wrong. 20,000 hertz, the 20,000 vibration per second. So this we can do. We can do up to tens of thousands of vibrations per second. So this is an extreme physical trauma. To cover it, the vocal folds are changed into stratified squamous epithelium. And then on the top of it, vestibular folds are pseudostratified and vocal folds are stratified squamous. There is a transition as we go from pseudostratified to stratified squamous. This includes stratified columnar and cuboidal epithelium. And infraglottic space changes back to the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, and there is again a little transition phase as we move down. muscles. That's the topic of the muscles. The muscles